Let me ask you this. We're here in Houston. Tell us, first of all, because they say Houston is a city on the change, that it's on the go. It's going to be the third largest city after the census is taken. People seeing it as being a very progressive city, that if Houston stays politically to the left, so will the rest of the state. So we're hearing a lot of things about that. What is a typical challenge in a big city like that right now, especially one that has such a large brown population? What sort of influence do you feel RASA is having, on politics and just plain old culture here in the city?
Well, I mean, it's always been like a RASA community or city. A lot of it was founded out of like the East End population, close to the Chip Channel, people coming here for work. So it's always had it. I think the big challenge with Houston is that it's so big and you have such a wide range of thinking going on. You have people that are just dealing with things almost neighborhood to neighborhood. So in doing activist work in the past and being on the ground and stuff, that was one of the big things that we always discussed, was how to connect all of these different neighborhoods that they all have their own things going on. And so I think that's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest problems, but we can relate on bigger issues that are going on, holding our politicians accountable.
What would be a big issue?
Well, like, immigration, I consider Houston a border town still, and so you have, you have day laborers trying to, we're working and trying to blend in, and we're trying to, have rights and stuff, and so, that's one of the big issues that we deal with. And again, just getting people to talk to each other, getting people to know each other, because just it's still so disconnected, in my opinion, and other people that I work with. People just don't talk, they don't know each other, people have beef with each other from different parts of the neighborhood, and so you're trying to figure out a way to get people to come together and communicate. And so RASA, just being able to connect on that level. And so that's why I do a lot of work around, like I said, indigenous stuff, cultural things, to get people to remain proud of who they are and where they come from, to remember their history, because slowly but surely, if we don't resist, those things are taken away from us.
Right now we have this stuff going on in Haiti. I was talking with Chuck D, Public Enemy, the other day, and he wisely reminded us. He said, don't forget, before we were brought over there as slaves, there was an indigenous population that was over there that got wiped out. And he was pointing out that there was a certain wisdom that they had. There was a reason why they weren't populated on that island, first of all, because it's one of many hundreds of islands in the Caribbean, because they knew about the windstorms and all that. It said there was another reason why they weren't even where the Port-au-Prince is at, because they knew what was going on. And he said there was a lot of wisdom that was lost and that we didn't listen to. With that in mind, when you come to a place like Houston, you forget that there was an indigenous population that was here once upon a time.
Right.
Any history that you could share with us, that people should know, like when you step on Houston, that maybe it was Arawak land, or maybe it was Kokomo, it could have been, give us the breakdown.
Right. Well, I try to look at it more inclusively, which is, it's Atzlan, it's all Anahuac, it's all connected from Alaska down to like almost Chile, So, understanding that the borders crossed us, we didn't cross them. These are, lands where people have, brown people have always lived, have always populated, have always worked the land, and yes, had a certain understanding of what was going to happen with the weather, what was, what the land was capable of. And so, and then, bringing it more to modern times, like I said, there's, it's a work-oriented city. All the Rasa and blacks and everything that come through, we're here to work. All the immigrants that come here, we're here to work, never to forget that people, once the borders were created, still had to come across to get to their jobs, and as things like NAFTA, it's still people coming because of a necessity, to work. I don't want to work.
One of the things that's also popped up is, black-brown conversations. In California, Southern California, there's a lot of tension, and even in H-Town, there are tensions at times. What do you think needs to be done to bridge, those two large populations, especially here in Houston, and what sort of work does somebody like you, how are you able to convey that in the quest to decolonize people's minds?
Right. Well, taking people back to remembering that, we're all original people, we're connected to each other, and then some of the biggest issues that we both deal with as cultures, which is like police brutality. That's something that we both deal with, on the regular. Poor people, brown people, black people, and so getting people to relate on those types of issues is something that we're just starting to get more work into connecting people. Because Texas is big on death penalty, and Huntsville isn't that far away, so it's movement to just try to get the youth to understand that these things are systematic, that it's a pipeline, from school to prison, and getting them to think, about coming together instead of being apart from each other. As long as we stay far apart from each other, then we can be dominated. So serve and protect isn't meant for me, at least that's the image I get from all that it is I see. People look to the cops to keep the peace, but I'm fearful if I trust you, brutality will never cease. Why'd you shoot Daniel Jr. point blank in the face? Why didn't you do anything when a Minuteman sprayed Nowie with mace? You arrested my brother for walking down the street and without explaining why, and that is really weak. We're expected to report when bad things go down, but I can't for fear it'll mean one of my homies in the ground. Sometimes when I see what you do, I clench my fists, but trying to reason with you might get me handcuffed at the wrists. Why riot gear for a peaceful protest in LA? Why you do things that make me want to close my eyes and pray? Oh yeah, I forgot, you're part of that blue race. So you've been taught to see yourself a step above the common brown face. I'm a minority, so I gotta watch my back, and I'm political, so at any moment you might attack. With no mercy, no regard, and no warning, you are capable of hurting me, leaving me for dead, and my family in mourning. Well, don't get me wrong now, cause I don't think all police are bad, but right now I don't trust not one of you, and that's sad. I mean, can't you see that by you taking that cop code of silence, it's allowed corrupt cops to use excessive violence, and the average age range of victims is between 18 and 23. At this rate, I'll have to fear my own sons walking in the street. So you know what, man, I think I'll just take care of me, try to talk to people and build community. You see my people? That way I know you and you know my family, so we can stand together and make sure we all stay free of incarceration, oppression, and being brutalized by cops. We need to address these issues so the killings can stop. And once they know that as a community we are paying attention, corrupt cops won't be able to fulfill ugly intentions. Policia, stop profiling the poor, brown, and black. Help us build and take our neighborhoods back. That way it won't be so much about striving and surviving, but a whole lot more about comunidad reviving. Well, that's about all I have to spit about this plight. Stand together, gente, and more than anything, watch out for each other and know your rights.